You don't manifest a high-performing company. You build it, you systematize it, and you execute. But right now, there's a whole crowd of entrepreneurs journaling about their dream clients and meditating on revenue goals. They're creating vision boards, or worse, they're aligning their energy until it just feels right. And while they're doing that, the people who are actually winning are building teams, training them, and creating systems that move the business forward. Here's the difference. They want the results and are committed to the price of bringing them into reality. Okay, manifestation isn't strategy. It's emotional avoidance dressed up as clarity. It lets you feel like you're doing something without actually doing the hard thing that would change your situation. In this video, I'm breaking down why manifestation keeps you stuck instead of moving forward, what elite founders actually do when they feel lost or overwhelmed, and the exact clarity framework I teach my clients to scale without burnout, micromanaging, or motivational BS. So if you're ready to stop waiting for alignment and to start executing with precision, keep watching. My name is Itamar Marani. I'm an ex-Special Forces operative, undercover agent, jiu-jitsu black belt, and the author of Elite Performance, a blueprint for mindset and business performance. I work with 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs to find clarity, get unstuck, and achieve their highest potential so they can win big and fast. If you appreciate me making this content for free, hit the like button and subscribe. It helps me know more of what to make. With that being said, let's get into it. Let's call it what it is. Manifestation feels productive. You're visualizing, you're journaling, you're doing the inner work. But here's a question nobody wants to answer. What actually changed in your business today? The answer is usually nothing. And that's the point. Manifestation gives you the emotional hit of progress without the discomfort of actually doing something that might not work. It lets you hide from reality and how challenging growth actually is. Like, you know what you're supposed to be doing, you have the skills, you have the resources, but the action that would actually move the needle feels risky. They feel uncomfortable, and you feel like you might fail publicly. So instead of doing these things, you retreat into something that feels safe, which is natural, right? You journal about your goals, you meditate on abundance, you tell yourself you're getting clear, when really you're just avoiding the uncomfortable growth process. I see this pattern constantly, even with high performers. They're not lazy, they're not stupid, they're just unaware that they're scared, that a part of them feels fear, and that manifestation or endless goal setting gives them a socially acceptable way to stay scared without admitting it. Uncomfortable, but true. It's kind of how reading a book can make you feel smart while trying to hire the right person makes you feel frustrated. But it's what actually makes the difference. The entrepreneurs who actually scale don't wait and chase feeling of complete alignment. They execute, stumble at times, learn, and grow. They build systems that make actions happen. They understand that clarity comes from motion and feedback loops, not just meditation. So if you've been manifesting for months and your situation hasn't changed, that's not a sign you need to manifest harder. It's a sign you've been avoiding the real work. Here's what manifestation gets wrong about goal setting. It keeps everything emotional and abstract. I want to feel abundant. I want to attract success. I want to live my dream life. These aren't goals. Those are feelings. And how can you execute on those feelings? I had a client, Paul, who came to me stuck at $10,000 a month despite having $1 million skills in his 20s. He'd built an 8-figure business back then, but after some personal setbacks, he'd kind of lost his edge. So when I asked him what he wanted, he said, I just want to feel proud again. That's a manifestation answer, right? It sounds meaningful, but doesn't give you much to act on. So we pushed. What would actually need to happen for you to feel proud? And when we dug deeper, he got specific. I want a business doing $1 million months, a dream house for my family, and to lose 20 pounds. Great. Now we had something real, not vague feelings, but specific measurable conditions he could track and work towards to achieve. And that shift from feel proud to $1 million months changed everything. He stopped chasing random opportunities and focused on building a recurring revenue machine. And in 18 months, his company grew to over $3 million a month. He brought his family a custom-built dream home, and he's having the time of his life. When we recently met, he told me with a proud smile, I feel like a winner again. Did you notice what happened there? He actually got the feeling that he wanted, but not by manifesting it. He got it by actually defining the specific conditions that would create it and then executing on those conditions. Elite performers don't stop at feelings. They define the concrete outcomes that would produce those feelings, then they build the systems to achieve those outcomes. That's extreme clarity, and it's the foundation everything else is built on. When you're stuck, the manifestation crowd tells you to visualize your ideal future. Create a vision board, imagine yourself already successful. The problem, that keeps you in fantasy mode. You're picturing the destination without confronting the real obstacle between here and there. So here's what actually works. The hindsight matrix. Instead of imagining your dream future, imagine you already achieved your specific goals. The work is done, the challenges are behind you. Now, from that vantage point, look back and ask, what was the single most important breakthrough or action that made everything else possible? This simple flip changes everything. When you imagine looking forward, your brain gets caught up in fears, doubts, and emotional comfort and tricks you into avoiding things. But when you imagine looking backwards from success, you cut straight to what actually mattered. I use this with Farid, one of the best poker players in the world. When we started working together, he was ranked 28th globally. He had the skills to be top 10, but he kept spreading himself thin, training for a marathon, running a second business, sponsor meetings, networking events. But when I ran him through the hindsight matrix, the answer was immediate. The marathon didn't matter. The second business didn't either. The single breakthrough that would unlock everything else for him was winning major tournaments. Everything else was a distraction dressed up as productivity. Vision boards let you daydream about having it all and avoiding the work. The hindsight matrix uncovers what actually moves the needle forward and puts that harsh truth and helpful truth in your face. Manifestation encourages you to want everything at once. Financial abundance, perfect health, amazing relationships, dream clients, total freedom. That's not ambition. That's a recipe for failure. Elite performance isn't about chasing everything simultaneously. It's about applying overwhelming force to one priority until it breaks through. Then, shifting to the next one. Back to Farid. Once the hindsight matrix actually revealed that winning tournaments was his real bottleneck, we turned it into a seasonal focus. Win big poker tournaments in Vegas for the next 2 months. That became his filter for every decision. The marathon training, gone. The second business, maintenance mode. The networking events, only if they directly supported his poker performance. One focus, total commitment. No hedging. The result? In 6 weeks, Farid won $746,666 and jumped from 28th to 6th in the world. Same skills, same knowledge. The only thing that really changed was that he stopped scattering his energy across 10 priorities and applied concentrated force to one. So here's the formula. For the next months, my primary focus is. That becomes your decision filter. When competing priorities naturally will try to pull you in different directions, you return to that focus and choose the path that delivers what you said you wanted. Manifestation tells you to hold space for everything, and therefore achieve nothing. A seasonal focus tells you to ruthlessly cut out everything that doesn't serve your breakthrough priority. One approach keeps all your wildest dreams alive, the other actually moves your life forward. The manifestation world loves to talk about surrendering to the process and trusting that things will work out. Shockingly, that was never a strategy that was taught us in special operations. Wild, right? Elite performers don't surrender or relinquish responsibility. They identify the most direct path to their goal and execute on it. Now, here's the problem. When you think about what you should do, you naturally drift toward what feels safe or comfortable. You avoid actions that might be risky or demanding. You overcomplicate things to protect your ego. But when you ask, what would someone else need to do to achieve this goal? Suddenly, the answer becomes obvious. I call this the Person X framework. So here's how you do it. Imagine it is 6 months from now and an unreliable CEO, with major disadvantages and a lower IQ than you took over your situation, your company. They show up late, they're unorganized, they were dealing with all personal chaos in their life. Now, despite all this, they achieved your goals faster than you. Wow. Now, here's the question. What would they have had to have done to make that true? What actions were so powerful they'd achieved more than you despite all those disadvantages. I used this with Ben, a virtual CFO in Sydney who was stuck at $5,000 a month while his competitors charged 5 times as much for worse results. When I asked him directly why he didn't raise his rates, there were endless reasons. But when I asked what would an unreliable, disorganized CEO have to do to grow your business faster than you, his answer was instant. They'd have to work with much bigger clients and charge premium rates. They couldn't afford to waste time on low-value work or small businesses anymore. The reality was that his desire to avoid feeling greedy had kept him from even seeing the most direct path to success. Once he saw it, Ben stopped undercharging. He started operating from his true worth and pocketed 70 grand in 6 weeks, and within a year, 40 grand per month became his new norm. Now, the wild part is that the universe didn't just deliver that to him. Ben actually made it happen by identifying the uncomfortable actions he'd been avoiding and executing on them anyway. Now, fast forward 3 years later, and he owns an 8-figure portfolio of companies. The manifestation world treats internal blocks like energy problems. Your vibration is too low. You're not aligned. You need to clear your chakras. Here's what actually is happening. You have specific beliefs creating friction between you and your goals, not vague energy issues. Concrete stories running in the background that make simple action feel threatening or almost impossible. I had a client, Nathan, who built a thriving SaaS business with a massive email list. A friend even laid out the exact blueprint to 4x his profits with almost no extra work. Clear path, easy execution, and Nathan kept stalling. Every time he sat down to send the emails, he'd end up scrolling YouTube instead. When I asked him why he was resisting making more money, he said he didn't want his list thinking he was a sellout. So I pushed deeper. Without thinking, finish this sentence. Making a lot of money is greedy, he blurted out. That was the block. Not low vibration, not misalignment, a specific belief from his past that was treating customer disapproval like a survival threat. Now, once we identified and neutralized that specific belief, Nathan 4x'd his business within a month. His wife was able to retire, and 2 years later, he had a life-changing exit. The manifestation approach would have told Nathan to meditate on abundance and trust the process. The tactical approach identified the exact belief creating resistance and eliminated it. The reality is you don't need to raise your vibrations. You need to find the 1 or 2 very specific beliefs that are blocking you from taking the most direct path to success, pressure test them, and break them. That's the real internal work. Not the journaling about your dreams, but systematically identifying and removing the mental interference that can keep you stuck. It's just harder to do, and that's why most woo-woo coaches or vague gurus hide from it with all this nonsense about energy, manifestation, and vibrations. So there it is, the difference between people who manifest and people who actually build something. Manifestation keeps you in fantasy mode. It lets you maintain an illusion of productivity while avoiding the uncomfortable actions that would actually change your situation. Yes, it can feel nice, but it doesn't move you forward. Now, what works instead? Extreme clarity on specific outcomes. The hindsight matrix to find your real bottleneck, a seasonal focus to apply concentrated force, the Person X framework to reveal your most direct path, and targeted, systematic friction belief work to remove the friction that's holding you back internally. None of that requires the universe to cooperate. None of it depends on your vibrations or alignment. It's just a system that works. The entrepreneurs who scale fastest aren't more enlightened than you or more spiritually vibrating. They've just stopped waiting for alignment and started executing. The truth is that you can either keep journaling about your dream life or go out there and build it.
And if you're serious about implementing this, I break down exactly how to actually outwork your competition without burning out or relying on motivation. And it's not what most people think. You can watch it right here.